Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Friday Cerritos worship. It's going to be our 22nd time studying for Genesis. It's Genesis chapter 29, verse 13 to 30. Okay, Genesis chapter 29, verse 13 to 30. Okay, I would hope that you stop it from here and then go through the verses. Okay, I hope you're done reading. Then I would start our story with talking about our grandparents, or especially grandmas, right? Growing up, I always remember going to my grandma's house. I don't know why, because maybe my grandfather passed away before I was born. But whenever I made my visit to my grandma's house, they always ask me, like, have you eaten? You seem so skinny. Well, that used to be my case when I was little, because I used to be super lean, and I was short kind of, so they would always ask me, like, have you eaten, right? But I was finding something wrong when about like 10 years has passed, and I was growing big. I was having my belly out there, and I was getting some like chubby pores. They would still ask me, like, oh, have you eaten? And like, you look so thin, like you look so thin, you have to eat some more. And then that was the moment I realized, oh, it was not really me being how thin I am, how well built I am. They always just see me like, oh, I don't know, I don't think my grandkid is being eaten enough. No matter how chubby they are, they just look like handsome, pretty. They should eat a little more, right? And there is a favorite meme that I take from I don't know, Facebook or Instagram. They say, like, whenever you go to your grandma's house and you say, like, you're not even that hungry, they make this at least this biggest meal um, from their own home to just feed you well. you know they would make a visit like whenever they can if you say, like, you're hungry, right? For them, it is all about how they see you as a grandkid, like how well life that you are going to live, right? In their own eyes, you're the favorite. Like, doesn't matter how, like, DiCaprio or who else, look, no matter how handsome they are, it's all about you. That you just look most handsome. You just look like most beautiful out of all. You're just a favorite out of all. The reason why I'm saying this is, everyone, they have a favoritism or favor in their own life, just like how grandmas are having their own favor towards us, right? Someone likes to wake up in the morning and freshly start their day, while the other might want to have enough sleep in the morning. One might like Korean food when they're, I don't know, hanging out, while the other might like hamburgers. These kind of favors could be also applied to our spiritual life as well. Someone might like morning devotional to have a fresh morning, while the others might prefer evening worship atmosphere with the family. So I would like to talk about our own favor tonight. Because the chapter tonight we're talking about is talking about how Jacob was having a specific favor towards the most important matter in his own life. And when that did not grant it, what or how Jacob was reacting in the situation. So the passage is pretty much, we all know about how Jacob was getting his own bride. And Jacob got scammed when he was getting married. Well, from his own uncle Laban, right? There are many cheaters or scammers in the world. This morning, my wife is always also telling me how LA was having another gunshot. Like, outworld, um, many gun shooters, many scammers, many cheaters. It doesn't really matter for them that you're family at some points. So Laban himself was an uncle who accepted Jacob and took care of him, but in the end, he acted like a cheater by stabbing Jacob in the back when it mattered the most. So I wouldn't say it's not a problem. It is definitely Laban's problem, but due to the sinful world, it was pervasive sin to seek someone's own good or one's own good, even till today. We still see when you're working in the field or when you're having a relationship. Hard to see someone being so sacrificial, giving up anything in their life. It's common to seek one's own good. So what I want to talk about today is not a pervasive sin, but Christian attitude towards the sin itself. It's not about how you avoid scammers or bullies or the shooters, but how you deal with them as a Christian when you encounter in your life. So far you hearing this, you might want to ask, should I yield everything that matters then in my life? That doesn't make sense. And I don't think it makes sense either. Being a Christian doesn't really mean that we have to sacrifice all the happiness in the life. Because Bible never says that. Bible says you should seek your own happiness in Christ. So we should certainly pursue happiness, and there's no way we're giving up. We're taking our own favors out of my life. That is not possible. The real question should be, what kind of favor should we take tonight? I would want us to go verse 17 and verse 18. This shows greatly about how Jacob was having favoritism or specific favor when he was picking his own bride. It says, Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, I will work for you 7 years. In return, noted here, for your younger daughter, Rachel. Right? So he was in love with the figure of Rachel because she was beautiful. Yes, that's natural. And then he's offering himself that I will work for you for your daughter, Rachel, not the daughter for Leah. In the text, Jacob pretty much shows us, I think it is pretty clear how Jacob is showing us his own preference for the woman. When he's picking up his own bride, he's showing a preference. We can all see that he's into beautiful girls. He's into pretty girl, right? And I think this is the man's natural preference. Well, just as grandma's favorite grandchild, it is natural for the pretty woman to be prettier in men's own eyes. So we can ask, is that a problem? To favor prettier women? Well, I would say when it is okay with the sinful world, most of the times the same agenda that was okay in the world could be wrong in the church, in the eyes of the Lord. Living according to the taste and the preferences I have been naturally given would not be a problem by the standard of the world, but it could be problematic when it comes to the church context. It is the current flow of the world to take the MBTI test or the blood type test that used to be so big in Korea, or any kind of test that would test you out and discover your own preferences, your own characteristics, so that you can proudly say, oh, I am born this way, or I am grown this way. The society has, I don't know, made me this way. And you're asking to be accepted. And there's a precept in it that you are not changing yourself, but you have to be accepted. The other party has to accept me as it is. There's no change that are promised in this concept. With this view, there was no problem for Jacob to take prettier one from the family, because if you're stronger and if you're paying with your price, so that paycheck of 7 years, you have to get a best girl out of the family. But I'm asking, is that a Christian way? Would Jesus do that? Did Jesus come to this world for the prettiest girls or for the handsome guys? Ellen White is having a quote for this. enslighting the claims of the poor, the suffering, and the sinful, we are proving ourselves as traitors to God, of Christ. It is because men take upon themselves the name of Christ, while in life they deny his character. It's so powerful here. It is because men take upon themselves the name of Christ, while in life they deny his character. That Christianity has so little power in the world. The name of the Lord is blasphemed because of these things. Still, Christianity is the biggest religion in the world. And if that is true with the numbers, the world should have been changed a while ago. This is big. When things didn't go in Jacob's way, Jacob naturally asserted his rights, skipping over the idea that there might be something wrong with myself. He rather demanded that the other person, the other party, for the payback for the damage. Well, it makes total sense for the worldly eyes. But let's try to think of some Christian way. Put yourself in Leah's shoes. As soon as she got married, yes, it was true that she was not pretty. It might also be true that, I don't know about her personality, but it might also be true that her personality was not really that charming. But the most beautiful day, as soon as she got married, her husband started arguing with his father about herself. And they were arguing, they were yelling at each other to bring another woman at the scene that was her own sister in 7 days. In 7 days, the happiest bridal week, which should have been the happiest time for the bride, was ruined so badly. If Jacob chose to love the woman he was given after the marriage, just like his father, because his father was waiting for the woman that God has given him, and he chose to love her. If Jacob had chose the same decision, he wouldn't have asked for another woman after 7 days. Someone's most precious week was ruined because Jacob was following his own taste and his own preferences and his own interest. Jacob's favoritism was not corrected, and henceforth his family was plunged into a family fight in which they hated each other more than years, which ended up his offspring fighting each other. Noted here, but a Christian who claims to follow God does not make a holy change in his life. People around that Christian, people around him, can get disappointed, and furthermore could be destroyed as well, just because that Christian himself did not fix himself, did not lead himself towards the Christian favor. What is our life like today? We may love God, we may praise God, we may be a good member that is outstanding in a church, but is our taste, or is my personal private life separate from that? You may think that's okay, but those around you that expect the Christians to be Christians may be hurt because we are not living Christian enough, and they might just walk away. Ellen White is asking us, if you claim that you're a Christian, if the world is asking for the Christian man and Christian woman, we should live like this. Goes by, the greatest want of the world is the want of man. Man who will not be bought or sold. Man who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Man whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. Man who will stand for right though heaven falls. I guess This type of man is the one we should fight for, and the one we should try to be. Because the perfect example was Jesus. Well, we can also say, in God's eyes, Jesus, as the one and only Son, was the prettiest and the most handsome guy or most handsome son in the world, just like how grandma favors their grandchild. And yet, God chose to sacrifice such a lovely son. God's needle and God's compass was directing to the people. People who did not even appreciate the sacrifice. Unlike Jacob in here. If we claim ourselves as Christians, let us strive to be like Christ. If there's any sinful traits or any sinful favors, taste that is still in me, why don't we ask God to correct me tonight and make me more like Jesus? Less of me, but more of you. As I wrap it up, Ephesians give us a great advice that therefore we should be imitators of God as his own dear children. So I invite you to be more of him and less of me. Should be our own prayers tonight. Thank you for your own attendings, our small group, and I hope you have a better time and discussing with your partners. Happy Sabbath, and thank you all for coming. May God bless you tonight.